Dear Art, I met you before I knew myself. There on the cliff overlooking creativity, we stood. You silently suggested that I lean forward, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid of heights, but I'm afraid to leap, but you only require my truth, so I must be honest. You only require that I be ready, so I must prepare. You only require my openness, so I must be vulnerable. You only require my accountability, so I must stay self-aware. You accept my good and you treat it with respect. You accept my flaws. You give me a gentle agency to absorb the lessons, and I take in the waters of gratitude, and I simply thank you. Thank you. Here we stand with respect for the journey, the cliff, the lessons, the love. The leap into trusting your direction, your lead, for you led me here. And let there be art, yours truly, an artist.
Dear artist, strange how I could stand on the same cliff's precipice, adjacent to your trepidation, and yet have so different a view. You looked up to me. You overlooked the creativity from whence I came while I looked up to you. You deciphered my silence like sign, the language of your hands speaking loudly enough for both of us to understand the onomatopoetic scratch of pen on paper, written words spoken from your lips to God's ears. I knew your fears. I knew your tears as my own, yet another tongue that this voice had not yet grown into, but would fill out soon enough. I knew that place, that cliff, that space would not be room enough for all your truth once you choose to tell it. I knew you needed only time and love and the purpose of raising me to find the sky. I was born to be your wings, as you were born to be mine. Yours in truth, your art.
This is America. 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 Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm
Speak to me of freedom.
This is America.
Speak to me of
Don't catch you
wings, of
slipping
angels,
now.
of doves, and other
Don't
things
catch you
eagles
slipping
devour.
now.
Speak to me
Look
of
what I'm
power.
whipping now.
Speak to me
This
of the
is America.
1,375,320 hours between
Look
liberty
how I'm
and
living now.
reality. And the
Police
clock
be tripping
is still
now.
ticking.
Yeah, this is America.
Now, speak to me of liberty, of endless
I
sky.
got the strap.
Speak to me in song and endless
I gotta
rhyme,
carry,
in voices strong, and in this time we will reach all that we long for and become a new spiritual.
My mind is a warning. Pray to the one you're relying. I've been wandering all day. I tried to be fine, but I can't be. The noise in my mind wouldn't leave me. I tried to get by, but I'm burning. And behind my mind, it runs. All these thoughts have troubled me. Fighting to give up my pain. Fighting to be on my lane. My mind running to the other cannot buy. Send me a love that you cannot mix. One is the joy that you cannot waste, and the other one price that you cannot fix. This is the peace that you cannot buy. Finding a way where you cannot see. Man with this system, he cannot pray. I need to find relief. But behind my mind, it runs. All these thoughts have trouble me. Funny to give up my pain. Funny to be on my lane. My mind running to the other side. When it's time to leave my life, then it tries to take me out. Tell you what I need. Right here, right here, right here.
Sound of the men, they're working on that chain. Yeah, that's the sound of the men, and they're working on the chain. Yeah, all day long you hear them. Ooh, I'm going home. Just one of these old days. Man, I'm going home to see my woman. My love so dear, but that meanwhile, I got to wait right here. It's just the sound of the men. They're just working on the chain. That's the sound of a man. They working on the highways and the byways. That's the sound of a man working on the highways and byways. Lonely, going. Ooh, man, I'm going home to see that woman. Oh, my love so dear. I got to see the woman. Oh, my love so
So thank you guys for being with us. So when we came up with this idea, the first part, the vision and verse, me and Adara, that was 2015. Wow, 2015. It was about what art was saying to artists, right? And then it felt like there was this natural evolution that was happening through these level of artistic conversations. What is art saying to other artists through our art? So what is my poetry that I saw in this? What does it say to her feet? What does it say to him? What does it say to music? And that vision and verse crossed over to where tons of different types of artists in different genres have been flowing through it. This particular one has this ripple effect of what happened. So, John, you can come over. Come on over, my friend. So, all of the years that we've been doing it, we actually hadn't had a DJ to interpret what he heard when he came in here. So the playlist as you walked in was some of the music that he heard as he moved through the space. And that's on a QR code that we'll share with you guys, and you can take a listen to that later. And then the track that he created for Ashley to dance to, that piece was a melting pot of those ideas, of those thoughts from a DJ's fingers. And if you know anything about hip hop, it's the power of the sample. It's the reusing of what was to make something new, right? So he makes this track. We give it to Ashley. Ashley feels it, rolls through it, and we end up here. As he and I were talking, how many of you are artists in some shape, form, or fashion? And how many of you had arguments with your art? You fought with it. You have wanted to kick its butt because it's working you. It's making you go through hoops. It's telling you to do one thing when you thought you should be doing this. Well, I wrote my piece first in a space of, I'm afraid of where this is leading me, where it's taking me. It's taking me to spaces and corners that I've not been before. How do I make this, what am I saying? And so it was a direct letter to my art. Also thanking it for its scary tactic in making me push harder, because it felt like I was on the edge of this cliff. And then when I took that poem in a ripple effect and passed it to you, what was your response?
Well, speaking as the art, I want to answer in the way that I like for my art to answer me. I want it to be reassuring and reassuring you of purpose. So that liberation that I feel when I create something, I wanted to respond with that, and by reassuring you what you find in your art and that sense of self. So that was, it was interesting hearing those doubts and some of those fears that they resonated in me, and I feel like they resonate probably in all of us, everything in the Dear Art. That's something that you feel, that fear, because you don't know where it's going. But I wanted to be the reassurance.
And we still willfully go into that unknown, scared, because it's what chose us. I say it often, how can you deny what chose you? And so the art chose you, and it's not always a doubting of like, I know this is wrong. You know that this is who you are from the moment you wake up and until the time you wake up again. But there are parts of that journey throughout that artistic path that seem so extremely dark, no light. And it's probably because it's waiting on the light from us, but we're too busy being scared, so we're not turning on any light. We're backing away from all of it. And so this was about artistic conversations and how they can ripple. And I know my question to the team is, when you got the music, what did it immediately say to you?
I think the overriding word that I got was struggle. I don't know if that was what you meant, but you could hear it in the lyrics, and I said that's what I.
Struggle and hope.
Struggle and hope. Yes, there was a joy to it. It's a very like the beat itself, minus the words, is just really upbeat, uplifting, and then you put the words with it, and it's an odd combination. But yes, that's what I got most of the struggle. Joy. I didn't get hope, but I got joy even through the struggle. So.
I'm glad you said joy, because one thing that happened to me during pandemic, everything that kind of, so you walk in here and you see things that kind of look like pain and struggle. This pandemic has taught me that everything that looks like pain and struggle is not necessarily pain and struggle. Does that make sense? Like, to be completely vulnerable, I was telling my friends, like, I don't even cry when I'm upset or sad anymore. I only cry when I'm happy. So, like, I look like I'm in pain, but I'm actually happy. So,
I feel you.
You go around the room and it looks like some of these spaces are trapped, but they might be on the way out of that struggle too. So there's hope as well too. So I don't know.
Yeah. I want to open it up for questions, because I would love to hear your take on what you witnessed.
Did you have a lot of time working together, and if so, did that influence kind of the evolution of all of this?
No. Honestly, so we knew from the jump that we would be working together, but I call it a Miyagi. So, you know, like when you're with I'm so guilty of that, sorry. Miyagi, where he, tells him wax on, wax off, and Danielson's really ticked off about this until he's about to get popped. then he realizes, oh, there was a purpose in me learning that wax on, wax off, right? So what seemed like we were not talking or what we thought we needed, it honestly was a safeguard to our strength and the creativity that we individually had. I don't know about y'all, but I personally didn't want to have a rehearsal or a meetup because I felt like it might change something, that it might flip something. The poems were already written, but I didn't want there to be like this weird like change in there. And to me, that's a weird superpower under there when you can not necessarily meet up and rehearse, but yet still there be this crazy kinetic connection.
That's what I was about to say. So I feel like ever since I met Erika, like we've had a connection that's like heavenly or divine. So like we always be like on the same wave regardless anyway. So like that's what I like about working with Erika anyway. So
I try not to, I Miyagi a lot of people and tricking them into, I don't want to say trick, but okay, trick maybe. But yeah, like I lesson them through something that helps create, a bigger masterpiece or a bigger understanding. And over the last, 2 years, it's been the conversation, that talk, that what are we saying to ourselves through our artistic language? What are we saying to other people through our artistic language? What are we saying beyond the stage even? What are we saying beyond those borders of what seems to be holding us tightly wound within the bounds of rehearsals, and do all these rehearsals and you get on stage, and I'm notorious for not following it. Because there's something in the room that says that's not what was supposed to happen, right? There's the energy in the space that's like, oh, so no. Yeah, right, it's a feel. It's a feel. It's a feel. Now there are some moments, yes, that I do need to run through stuff, but for me, the most of the time, there's a belly of, I don't want to rehearse my feelings in that. I don't want to do that. It feels like it's something taken away from it, I was emotional when I got here, and I was like, if it bubbles up, it bubbles up. If it comes out, it's fine. It was meant to, right? That was not my choice. And to be honest, it's a lot more painful trying not to be emotional. That's more painful. But any more questions, please, 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 please. This process was crazy, but.
what made you come up with the track? So
I was waiting for that. Thank you.
So as far as This Is America goes, this is America. Like it's an all-encompassing song to start it off.
Ooh.
The Temps Free Mind song, I'm talking about, so the first time I came here, I came with my daughter, and like as soon as I saw this piece on this back wall with this young man, it's like a profile of him, that song just kind of echoed in my head. But like if you listen to those lyrics, that's also why that's like the meat of that whole performance track, because I let it go for 2 verses on purpose, because she talks about, I need a free mind now. Like, it's just different versions of what she's talking about, like freeing your mind, getting to a space where you can free your mind, and all kinds of stuff like that. And I feel like I saw that in each one of these paintings. And an overwhelming thing to me was like labor. If that's labor, and so like that's why I went with Chain Gang, but I purposely didn't go with Sam Cooke's version. I went with Otis's version because it's a little more grimy and more like gritty, so that was purposely as well. I don't know, what else? Oh, that was it for the, okay, sweet.
No, that was perfect, yeah. I think art has a language that we all can learn from. It's also super trendy to be an artist. You guys know that in our city, it's so trendy to be an artist. But there's a language that that art speaks, and that does not need translation. It doesn't need you to be formally educated. It doesn't need any of those things in order for you to really enjoy it. And so the funny part about it is that even though we've done our part in this piece, we've done our poetry, we've had our music, we've done our dance, this exhibit, technically, this here is not done, because when we finished, we added the ripple and we passed it to each of you. So now it's technically on y'all. How you ripple through it, how you flow through what you witnessed, what you heard, what you saw, what you felt, and then what you see here in these spaces, that ripple effect, and how you put that into your own space and use it in your art, your personal art.
Really, that conversation, that in itself is kind of a creation of art. The conversation itself is this alchemy that happens between us. And I think, this was just a brilliant idea in bringing that to life. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Thank you guys again. It is always amazing to have good energy in a space like this. It can be difficult to perform in such a naked and vulnerable way. It's easy to have shows where you perform for 300 people. It's so easy to do that and move on, and you might have 5 people in there that might really felt you, like for real. But then when you have a space where people specifically plan to be here for what you didn't know. Y'all had no idea what was gonna pop off. It wasn't, So to me, that type of energy is a transference, and it's also a super blessing, and it's honorable. Yes?
I just want to commend Ashley. the dancing without music,
Yeah.
you have to make your own music,
Yeah.
and you did.
Yeah.
And I felt it from you, and then just the freedom that came with the music of being able to let it move in you and through you and respond to it, but that you were saying this naked, vulnerable space into the, after the conversation to start off, and that I just want to commend you because that was very powerful and beautiful. So thank you.
Yeah.
It's like going back into our conversation with the Miyagi thing.
Yeah.
So I get this message, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna do acapella, and I was cute. It's like, I have it's gonna be people in front of me. But I appreciate Erika so much, and I appreciate this process, because my process for creating pieces is all over the place. Like I'll be, just washing dishes and like, I think I like this move. But no music, that was a rough hurdle, but I really appreciate it. And I just came off of a show actually that was an immersive show, and this was probably way like 10 times harder.
And the reason I was like that was I wanted there to be like this immediate response, because we walk up on the art, and I know how I feel. So when I came in here my first time, I stood there at that one for 45 minutes maybe. I went from bewilderment to crying to joy, back to crying. I knew that I had this immediate visceral response to it, and I wanted another artist in a different genre's response to an art piece that spoke. And so that was why I wanted it like this movement response. And I knew when I said it, I was like, she gonna say, girl, you tripping. But instead, she was like, okay. Like not once did I even think that, that was gonna be weird, but she totally bodied it. And John, what did you feel when we asked you?
Well, I was about to piggyback on what she was saying.
I know he was like, man, here she come.
Erika has the ability to see what you're capable of before you even, so like, I've never really done anything like this before. And also I've done other stuff with Erika before that I've never done before. So like, she has the ability of seeing what your potential is and what you're capable of doing and your talent or whatever. And like, she'll be like, hey, if this is too much, then we'll move on or whatever. But she's always, she always has a gentle hand with the ask. So it makes you willing to try to put forth an effort to like go forward with the project.
And I'm guilty. I'm so guilty. I'm guilty of that. But I feel like that's the, there's that space. There's that, I'm always looking for the deeper conversation because I know the lasting power of art. I know its healing qualities. And so I know that there's this underbelly, this conversation that has to happen, that does happen under it. And it's important to push ourselves to those limits, as artists. I hope that you have heard some or felt some motivation from our ensemble. I don't know if you want to call it that, but it was not created just by me. I feel like this was over several long-winded conversations with Arche, me being the long-winded one, talking about, no, there's more to it. And he's like, oh. He's like, yeah, but wait. And then so I felt like that was the evolution. We showed up in this evolution, and that's how it, is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you.